Andrew Ng from OUE Restaurants, and we also have Emmanuel from Fairmont Swissotel Stamford. Over to you guys. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. When I got Ara to do this from Adeline, who's ex-Republic Poly, I was saying, I didn't even know this association existed, so I'm very happy to be here. I wasn't even sure about the. I said, "What do you want me to talk about?" So then I said, "Let me get my friend Emmanuel, who came from an independent restaurant background and now works for hotel restaurants, and for both of us to share our experiences." I started off actually in the world of nightclubs and concerts in Hong Kong, and I moved to Singapore. I was the marketing manager at Zouk for 8 years. I created the first Zouk Out Music Festival. Then I had a marketing agency for a few years. Then I went back into nightlife at St. James Power Station, which is 9 bars and clubs all under one roof at the building now where Dyson headquarters are. And then I joined the Lo and Behold Group, which is a restaurant group for 9 years. We have restaurants like 3-star Odette, Poe at the Warehouse Hotel, Over Easy, Claudine, and Isora. And then for the last 2 years, I've been now with OUE Restaurants, which is a company, the restaurant division of the OUE conglomerate, which owns the Hilton Singapore Orchard Hotel and Crowne Plaza at Changi Airport. But we also have a restaurant division. So we have things like View, Shisen Hantan, Chatterbox, Osteria Mozza, as well as a QSR chain in Delifrance and Chen's Mapo Tofu. And then Emmanuel, a little bit about yourself, mate.
Sure. I'm a Gemini. Just joking. I'm just checking if you're listening. My name's Emmanuel. I'm an Australian. I've been in Singapore for 11 years. I think my accent's now I can hear myself. It's
Singlish,
really
mate.
softening, isn't it?
More Singlish, mate. Yeah.
So I've been in Singapore for 11 years. I'm the head of food and beverage of the Fairmont and the Swiss Hotel. An interesting complex, 13 restaurants, a 2-star, John by Kirk Westaway, 32 kitchens, 10,000 square metres of function and event space. It's about 100,000 square feet of function and event space. Certified halal restaurant, Prego, that we all know and love, right? All right, okay. Well, you need to come back again soon. Before that, I ran the unlisted collection for Mr. Lolek Peng. So I was looking after Burnt Ends, Restaurant Andre at the time, and a number of other venues that were also around and that I helped Rishi join up, and Ivan Brem, both of them now with Michelin-starred restaurants as part of Unlisted. Prior to that, level 33. So I've run a brewery. So any questions about breweries? More than happy to tell you. I've run a winery in Australia called Tower Estate. And I was a butler. I can't tell you to whom, but they are very wealthy. And they had a number of helicopters that I used to fly around in. And then originally from Ritz-Carlton and Four Seasons before that. I'm a 4th-generation hotelier. My family owned the oldest restaurant in Australia, which started off as a Greek diner 98 years ago, opened by my granddad. So there you go.
Good, mate. It's good. All right, so since you've worked in both independent restaurants and hotel restaurants, give us the skinny on each one.
So, big difference. Generally speaking, the most creative are independent restaurants. The ones that make the least amount of profit are also independent restaurants. But they are filled with passion and creativity. Everything from, and when I say creativity, don't just think food and booze, but they are great places for food and booze. Also with the way that they do their uniforms, the way that they create their music and their playlists, the way that they look at revenue optimization. You know, I'll tell you, has anybody, put your hand up if you've ever been to, if anybody ever went to the old Burnt Ends on Tech Lim Road. Did anybody go to the old Burnt Ends there? Yep. Probably the smartest restaurant I've ever seen for maximising seats. Now, if you ever went to that restaurant, that was a 28-seat restaurant. So what would happen there is you'd put your name down and then they would only allocate you the seats that were available. So it was 100% capacity for at least 2 sittings. On Fridays, we used to do 4 sittings for dinner and then sometimes 1.5 for lunch. It was the most productive restaurant I've ever seen. But then at the same time, incredibly creative as well. Level 33, once again, another really interesting business, vertically integrated. So they make the beer, they sell the beer all on site. And these are just wonderful, 2 brilliant examples. If I was going to steal anything from, I shouldn't say this, should I? Maybe, okay, I shouldn't, but I will. If I was going to steal 2 concepts from Singapore, it would be the old burnt ends and the way that they, and just for revenue and opportunity, and then level 33 for that great and delicious concept of wonderful beer, and they don't just do beer, they've got a bit of other stuff. So there you go.
I think what you're saying, and I really agree at this point when it comes to restaurants, right? And you talk about marketing of F&B outlets. I think we have to go back to the basics, and a lot of it is about innovation, right? So if you don't, and what is your competitive advantage? When I ask some of my general managers or operators about, well, what do you want to be known for? And they go, oh, good food, good service. I said, oh, come on, guys. No, come on, competitive advantage, product differentiation, right? So, for example, Chatterbox. People say it's the most expensive chicken rice in Singapore, but we say it's elevating Singapore hawker cuisine. So we have amazing lobster laksa there. We have prawn, king prawn, Hokkien mee. And what we're trying to talk about is innovation. What Emmanuel was just saying is what drives the concept and the competitive advantage. So if you don't have that from the start, your restaurant's not going to work. And then you'll end up doing what other hotel restaurants do, is to do the discount route. 1 for 1, or 50% off 2 people, 33% off 3 people, whatever. That is the kiss of death. It means that your restaurant doesn't stand a chance unless you have discounts. And one thing you don't want to do when you're doing marketing of F&B outlets is to go the discount route, because you're just devaluing your brand. So first thing for me is having a good brand story, having a good concept, competitive advantage, what makes you different, what makes you special or unique, not non-generic, right? Buffet restaurants and hotels, there's standard. That one, it serves a purpose, right? It's more of a functional thing. But when you talk about real good restaurants that are going to deliver good revenue, good value to your hotel guests as well as locals, it's really important. One thing we're just saying just now was that when I joined the company, OUE Restaurants, in July 21, we were just about to close Chatterbox for renovation. And at the time when I visited the restaurant before it closed, it felt like a staff canteen, right? But the hotel was going through a whole major renovation from Mandarin Orchard to Hilton. And prior to that time, which was also pre-COVID, 80% of our guests were tourists, right? So it became like a tourist trap, tour groups and what have you. When we relaunched, rebranded, renovated, we now only attract 40% tourists, 60% are locals. And that's really important because locals give you, you're not just a function for the hotel guests, but you're also serving the community, local community. So I'm really proud of the fact that, we have a very strong local support now versus what it was before, and that's not a very, you don't want to be known as a tourist trap, that's the thing, right? And I think it's very important to strengthen your brand to the local environment. Do you agree?
Totally. I think that to help with the local trade in any domestic market, it's super important to look at who you're going to use if you don't have the database to make it work yourself. And I totally agree, discounting, that's suicide mission. If you're doing that in restaurants, try to work yourself out of it. With restaurants, try to fill them, and then try to increase the average spend per head. Super simple. That's how restaurants work, okay? That's number one. Number two, try to get a partner, and when I say partner, I mean I love Chope. I really love, for the domestic market, Chope. Independent restaurants use it, do it. They're a great, I believe they call them OTAs in the accommodation world. OTAs? You know what that means. I have no idea what that means. So that's the equivalent of a restaurant OTA. And they know the market back to front. They are the leader over anybody else that I have seen. In 12 to 18 months, one of these very clever people will write a thing called an algorithm. I don't know what that means either. But they'll write an algorithm and it will be better, maybe, than Chope, maybe not. But stay on top of being relevant and take a look at what all the top restaurants use. A lot of restaurants are now using a platform called 7 Rooms to get their bookings done so they can put down credit cards so you've got less of that cancellation rate, which is also very important to maximise your revenue. But what you were saying, like what we were saying before about innovation, if you don't have like a proper concept, the example that I give is when I was running Unlisted, and I used to say to people, I was like, Binsho, which is a little Japanese restaurant in Tiong Bahru, and I was saying to the guys, it's like Binsho serving tiger beer. You don't go to a Japanese restaurant, go and have tiger beer. Like, that's one stupid example, but I was reading
this is what we call being on brand or off brand, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to be on brand with the concept. Yeah. You can't do a Cinco de Mayo event in a modern European restaurant, right? It doesn't make sense, but people do it. You run an Oktoberfest in a Japanese restaurant, doesn't make sense. So why do it? So people are jumping on these bandwagons and trying to do all these marketing things, and I don't really call them marketing. I call it tactical promotions. 1-for-1 is a tactical promotion. It's not marketing. Marketing is about the brand story, about really going deep into your concept and then coming up with ideas that will give value to your guests, and they'll spend money for that. It's not about price anymore, it's about value proposition. It's about people will spend money if the value is there for them. It's not about, look at John. You guys just finished renovating, you got 2 stars, I know you're gunning for 3, and you've spent... Everyone's gunning for 3, mate.
Okay, you're right.
All right. So, and now because of the beautiful renovation you've done, it's sort of like revitalize the brand, and everyone's going back. You're probably full, you can charge a bit more money, and they don't mind because they're willing to spend because the value is there.
Yeah. Look, absolutely. But sort of you bring up another point. A lot of people in restaurants also forget about the opportunity to spend. We've all got that restaurant that we love to go to, right? And whether it be a kopitiam style restaurant or whether it be an entry-level Western restaurant, a premium Japanese restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, doesn't matter. And what we do is we see, sometimes as people who look at revenue, you'll see an opportunity. I'm constantly astounded at restaurants that I enjoy going to, that their most expensive bottle of red wine is, let's say, 180 or 200 bucks. I'm like, but you're not giving people the opportunity to spend their money. Give people the opportunity to spend. Because if you don't give them that opportunity, they're not going to do it.
Here's a little trick we used to do, right? In your menu engineering, you have drinks like $15, $18, $19. You add in the $25 drink, the $19 drink will move. Right? If you add a $30 drink, the $25 drink will move. People would they'll never go for the most expensive one, but they'll go for the second most expensive one. That's a really little trick, and a lot of little tricks that we use in restaurants to help people make their minds up more easily. The other thing that's interesting, right, because everyone talks about social media and about, marketing, how do you, and what was interesting, I was talking to my guys recently about, we had a social media agency pitch to us, and they said they do PR as well. I was looking at their presentation, I was like, okay, but how do you guys write? What words do you use? Because ultimately, marketing is communication. And if you can't write jack shit, you can't write, you can't communicate, right? There's no point in having beautiful pictures of cocktails and food if the post on the media post, social media post, you put the words grammatically incorrect, no point of view, no personality, doesn't reflect the concept. So I told my team, always look at the words we're going to use to describe who we are, what the post is going to say. And in a way, that is like the brief for the photographer or the video person who's going to make the video for the social media post, so that it gels. Because otherwise, you can look at this photo going like, this could be any restaurant you see. Because unfortunately, photographers take the same photos with every restaurant. You know, you can see the same, and you put them blind. You do a blind test of all these restaurant photos on social media. You can't tell which restaurant it belongs to, because sometimes photographers need to be inspired as well. So the words that come from you guys as the brand owners would have to be the ones that inspire the photographer to shoot differently, so that it looks different, it looks unique. And that's how you must have a strategy. A lot of times, I'm going to say this very openly now, a lot of the operations people who start off as a waiter and move their way up to the top, they don't understand marketing, right? They have no clue about marketing, right? And unfortunately, and they think marketing is, like I mentioned, tactical promotions, right? And I keep saying, no, it's not. You have to understand strategy. You have to understand competitive advantage, differentiation. From there, social media, everything else is just execution, right? But you need to have the idea, the strategy behind it first. What makes it stand out? What makes it to have a certain position in someone's mind, right? So, for example, like I mentioned just now, Chatterbox, elevating Singapore hawker cuisine. We have a restaurant, Shisen Hanten, which is a Japanese Sichuan restaurant, right? So again, interesting, unique flavors, Sichuan cooking, but using Japanese ingredients. Rampapa is one of our restaurants, Damien De Silva. We call that Singapore heritage cuisine. So we take that and we try to own that idea of what is Singapore heritage cuisine. It's not Peranakan, it's very multicultural, and we try to use that. And that gives us a lot of depth of concept and ideas to go and market. It gives us a lot of content for marketing. So your restaurants need to have that depth in concept, the layers. That will help you, give you more legs and more content for your social media posts, the PR, and whatever activations you want to do. Like, for example, with Chatterbox, we're now working on we have one of the top sommeliers in Singapore who's a general manager there. So we're going to work on a wine pairing program for wine paired with hawker cuisine, right? Often you go to a hawker center, you don't get wine, you just get Tiger beer, right? So a lot of these rich people, they go to a hawker center and dabao home and open their expensive bottles of wine and eat at home, right? So imagine a restaurant that already has very good quality hawker cuisine paired with really good wine. So we own that. We take on that concept, and we own it. And then people say, wow, this is a Chatterbox thing, right? And you use that to break through all the noise outside, all the different marketing noise that you have.
And that's actually another example of giving people the opportunity to spend, right? You can't have hawker food and wine usually, right? So it's a huge opportunity. I'd be interested to see how that goes as well.
Sauvignon Blanc with Hokkien mee is really nice. That's all I can tell you that, mate.
I don't drink wine myself. I don't touch alcohol to maintain my amazing physique.
Yeah.
Thanks for laughing, by the way, everybody. I heard that.
11 minutes, mate. We had 11 minutes.
Does anybody have any questions from the audience? Any young lady with the glasses? Go right ahead. You're live on the air. Yeah, loud and clear.
How do I make an all-day dining buffet distinctive from every other all-day dining buffet that's available at my competitors?
Next question. No, just joking. There's a couple of different ways. I would say there's a couple of different ways to do it. I've got 2 buffet restaurants. Clove, all day, breakfast, lunch and dinner, and then a certified halal restaurant. A little bit difficult with the certified halal restaurant to make it, to give it too much, but it is incredible. We've got some incredible food there, Asian Market Cafe inside the Fairmont. With Clove, what we tried to do is give an incredible offer for alcohol. You can buy glasses of wine there for $12. There's free flow packages as well. Does this particular outlet, without pointing the finger at the outlet, or if you'd like to, would you like to tell us where the outlet is?
Sure. I already mentioned I was with the Westin Singapore. So ours is Seasonal Tastes,
Okay.
which is also on level 32, so very close to 33.
Yes.
It is, as it sounds like, it's an all-day dining buffet restaurant, has seafood in the evenings, but we're in a high-rise in the central business district, which we don't get locals to come to us unless previously we did have a one-for-one offer. That was the only way to get locals in the door and get them all the way out to the central business district on a weekend and get that business, because there's nothing else that we can really do that's distinctive versus if you have other hotels that are near a mall or are more easily accessible or well-known because they have either history or something else. So that's why I'm asking, how do I make it so my all-day dining, my all-day buffet is distinctive enough where I can bring people into a dead zone on the weekends in the city?
So you've got a lovely property. James, your GM up there, lovely fella as well. I worked with him about 15 kilos ago in Sydney. And what I would use, so at level 33, a couple of doors away, we had a $33 plus lunch. There are still people that talk about that. So try not to discount, try to offer a great offer for lunch. If you do a great offer for lunch, what's your lunch price now?
Our lunch price now is 50.
Singapore dollars?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. So I would potentially look at the opportunity of reducing that just for lunch, Monday to Friday, or maybe Saturday and Sunday and public holidays. Reduce that, and maybe do I'm sure you and your team are clearly, I'm sure, very, very clever and done an audit of your competitors, and maybe just undercut them, get rid of the discounts, but look at that point just to fill it up, and then a great booze offer as well. A free flow offer is good, if you can, like a 2-hour free flow thing.
We do have an $80 package with free flow. Yeah.
Potentially, yes.
Yes.
You'll have the next question.
But just so I can get on record, you're saying that in order for me to have a unique selling point or make my property distinctive for the buffet is to undercut my competitors' pricing?
Not necessarily, but it can be the starting of a strategy rather than giving it a discount strategy, like a one-for-one, which is suicide. So that's one way. But I'll be honest with you, more than happy, if you want to have a chat afterwards, more than happy to offer. Cheap, thanks, Professor. I heard you, by the way.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, and again, I'm not having worked for hotels before. I mean, and I don't know if I can say this, because in some cases when you're running independent restaurants, we make decisions of pre-terminating leases of restaurants that didn't work to stop the bleeding and help the other restaurants under the brand succeed better. Now, obviously, you can't do that in a hotel. You have to keep running it. It's there. But I can imagine on the weekends it can be quite dead there, right? So does it have to be a buffet restaurant on weekends? Can we be a bit more innovative in the buffet offering in terms of the menu that we serve? Can you do a semi-buffet where starters and desserts are buffet, but main courses are doing a la carte, but from a very small menu? Do you create more occasions that you can do? But the thing is that if you have to run the property because you have to, then it's something that you have to think about. But I mean, I would maybe, if I was running a restaurant there, I would close on those days and focus everything on Monday to Friday, because that's where. But again, like I said, I'm coming from independent restaurant background. That's how we would do it, because we would focus our manpower on Monday to Friday, give our staff 5-day work week and all that sort of stuff, and close Saturday and Sunday in that area. I used to run a restaurant there before called Extra Virgin Pizza, which is near you guys, and we would focus Monday to Friday, close on weekends. But then during COVID, our delivery business and takeaway business opened, so we started to open Saturday and Sundays during COVID and post-COVID, and they did very well. But I think now they've gone back to closing on Saturday and Sunday. But again, independent restaurants can work that way because you have that they're very focused offering. Again, you probably can't do that in a hotel, but that'd be quite interesting if you could. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I would say menu innovation, because you hear about the best buffets in Singapore, right, in hotels, and they're not cheap, but they give you such a broad offering, and the live stations and the premium ingredients and all that stuff, and that's what will attract people to the destination.
Actually, I've just got one just before, because I know we're sort of running short on time. Just as another quick one that we didn't talk about was looking at the way that your team are. We spoke about making sure that you're on brand, right? So you're not putting on a Japanese menu the word, tapas, or, you know what I mean? It's got to be all correct. But also making sure that you're putting not necessarily the dish that's got the highest GOP, but the things that are interesting and maybe even the most expensive dish, like at 1, 2, or 3, right? And we all know that by about item 5 or 6 on a menu, people are like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? Make sure that also the operations teams, that you're imparting some of your incredible knowledge onto your outlet managers, because these guys are going to be the ones, these guys and girls and people are going to be the ones that are going to be rising through the ranks to then be outlet managers, assistant food and beverage directors, then potentially general managers. So any knowledge that you can help give them and any insights you can get from them is super valuable for them to learn from you, but you also to learn from them. Because sometimes they're not always giving the feedback of what the guests are saying, right? Oh, the Caesar salad doesn't have enough bacon bits in it, so people have stopped ordering. So we saw it sell well, then we saw it go down. Or the perception of the portion size, because it's bone out rather than bone in. People want the bone in. So go back and see if you can get, as revenue people, see if you can look, because you guys are great with analytics, with data, try to get a little bit more expressive information from your teams if you can, because I guarantee you they are holding it, they're not given the opportunity to put it into words.
That's a really good point, which goes back to what you're saying about your buffet restaurant, is that if rather than being an all-day dining buffet restaurant and you're trying to do all things to all people, you have Asian cuisine, you have seafood, you try to do everything. Why don't you focus on a few things? Maybe you want to just do seafood and become an expert in seafood buffet, or you want to be maybe an expert in Japanese buffet, for example. I think when you do that, you create a positioning that you can easily communicate, and you can then invest in a lot more premium ingredients, because you're only doing Japanese food, for example. You have so many offerings we can have, or you're just doing seafood, for example, or you're just doing local cuisine. But go for something that's a bit more focused and not trying to be all things to all people, and then really just do that at a very high quality, and then you can charge for that because you have a very focused strategy rather than, oh, we have everything. Oh, so that means
the only trouble with that is that our guests are from everywhere. So if you don't have food that accommodates someone traveling from Indonesia, Malaysia, China, Japan, India, Western, this is why it's buffet. You need a lot of space in order to offer these things. So I'd be very happy to talk to you guys on the side, but that is one of the biggest challenges, is you can't really position yourself to offer something as niche, because you immediately will have guests complaining, saying you don't have anything to offer that's appropriate for me as a guest.
Good point. Tough one, mate. I'm not in hotels.
Thanks. Well, look, I suppose I hope you guys have enjoyed sort of the little chat that we've had up here. It's obviously it's easy for us because we're old mates and we've sort of been bumping into each other for a number of years. But if there's, I'd like to offer you, please, if you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, or if you'd like to come have a chat to me after this, please feel free to do so. I do have a phone call though at 2:30, which I can't miss. But if there's anything that I can help with, use your networks as well. Use your networks. Speak to your former colleagues. Speak to your competitors. Find out what they're doing, right? There is nothing more powerful than just going and saying, can I buy a coffee? Can we have a chat? And if your competitors are good people, like properly good people, with good ethics and good morals, they'll actually say, yeah, man, sure, I'm happy to share with you. Because you don't want to be, if you'll pardon the pun, you don't want to be cannibalising. Never mind. That was a food joke. Okay, never mind. All right. No response, whatever. You don't want to be, cutting into each other as well. Anyway, enjoy the rest of the conference and lovely speaking with you all.
Thank you, everyone.